We're recording now.
Okay, you sure?
Yeah. So sorry. Dom, that's why I got you, man.
It's a really
Clap.
Yeah.
That ass. What's up, ladies and gentlemen, B-boys, B-girls, breakers around the world. This is B-boy Tydal from Decypher, and
I am Benji B, and we have a very special guest today, all the way in Brisbane.
welcome to the stage, Bgirl Flix, aka Leah. Say
Thanks
hello.
for having me, fellas.
What did you have for breakfast today?
I haven't had breakfast yet.
Okay.
Ooh,
I was
on
on
that
my way
fasting
into
tip.
work.
He's grumbling
And,
right now.
Oh, I feel fine.
So, Leah, Bgirl Flix, Elements Collective, Team Cream, recent organizer of IBB, the International Breaking Bootcamp.
How are you feeling right now, by the way? Just fresh
I
off?
feel jet lagged and I haven't even been on a plane.
Damn.
How we're going to start the show off is we're going to go for a quick icebreaker. This is Quickfire. Answer the questions as quick as possible with a one-word or one-sentence answer.
Gotcha.
Cool? First question, SoundCloud, Spotify, YouTube.
YouTube.
A second question, favorite music to dance to.
Slow hip hop.
3, favorite jam around the world.
IBE.
4, goat dancer.
Big on Nadia.
5, up-and-comer who you think we should all be watching.
J Attack.
6, call out, crew, bite. So who would you call out? Who would you battle in a 2-on-2 from your crew? And who would you want to bite?
From my crew, all of those.
No. So who would you call out? Anyone, at any time, at any stage in your career, right? Like you could be in your prime. It could be them in their prime. Who would you battle with from your crew in a 2-on-2 battle?
Ah, okay.
And then who would you bite?
I would bite Nadia because I love watching her. I love the way she dances. I could battle with any of I have battled with any of the boys in 2-on-2s.
You got to choose one.
I have to choose one.
Yeah.
Quick fire.
Oh my god, Jackson.
Ooh, I like that.
And I don't call people out.
But who would
But
you call
have
out?
to.
Who would I call out?
Can't be anyone.
Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock.
I'm gonna say, I don't know. I've never thought about
That's a
calling
cop-out.
anyone out.
You got to
It's a
answer.
cop out.
Yeah, that's a cop
Yeah.
out. We can't move on.
I don't
until you
even
answer
have
the
a reason
question.
why I would call people
Doesn't
out.
matter. Has to be somebody.
Anybody.
I'm gonna say my training buddy Rosa.
Oh, Rosa, you better watch out. Leah's coming.
Yeah.
Last question is, what's your favorite ice cream flavor?
Salty caramel.
Whoa.
That's nice.
That's cool.
Yeah. Not just caramel.
Salted
Salty
caramel.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a salted caramel white chocolate macadamia shake from Messina.
Haven't had it.
Really good. You should try it.
All
You
right,
should try it.
moving on. Let's get into the juice. Can you just sort of introduce yourself, how you started breaking, how old were you, and sort of that kind of process, a bit of your origin story.
Okay. I started breaking when I was 18.
How old are you now?
I am turning 42.
Looking
So a while
great,
ago,
looking
before
good.
you guys were born, likely. How old are you guys?
I'm 29.
Okay, you're
32.
babies.
So I was alive.
94.
That was alive.
Yeah. So yeah, I've been breaking for a while. I never danced really growing up. I grew up in the gymnasium, so I'm a gymnast, and I competed for a long, long time. So I grew up in the gym every day.
Flexible, strong.
And yeah, and loving flips, loving acrobatics, obviously. It's what I did my whole life.
So that's how you got Flix?
Yeah, that's where I got Flix, yeah. Actually, I also had a wristband that had the word Flix on it, and weirdly, it stuck, and I think it's a silly name, but whatever.
Someone was like,
It's
"What's
not
your
going
big
away.
name?"
It's
You're
been
like,
there for too long.
Flix.
Yeah, probably that's what happened. Yeah, and I just saw, I went to the Bomb Funk MCs concert, which is that group that sing that freestyler song. Probably wouldn't even remember it.
Freestyle.
Yeah.
Rock the microphone. You know that
Oh,
song.
yeah,
yeah,
you
the
would
guy
know
with
it.
the
Yeah.
dreads.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, my bad.
Yeah, I got a ticket or something, and I went and saw them, and they had some breakers supporting them as a support act, and that was the first
Locals
time
or
I'd
were they
seen.
international breakers?
I think it was Gravity Warriors from Brisbane.
Oh, I haven't
Yeah.
heard of Gravity Warriors before.
Nick Power's crew.
Oh.
Yeah.
Mad.
And that's a crew I grew up under as well.
Yeah.
So I sort of started learning from them. But yeah, so I think Nick and I think it was those guys doing the show. And that was the first time I'd ever seen breaking. Like, but I'd probably seen it on the telly but not paid too much attention, but it was right in front of my eyes. And I'd kind of finished gymnastics for like a year. And I was like, that is the coolest thing I've ever seen. I want to do that.
It's probably something that you could like reapply to as well.
And you could relate because of gymnastics too, right?
Yeah, I was obviously attracted to it because of the acrobatic side of things. So, yeah, that was the first time I saw it. And way back then,
Who taught you?
Gravity Warriors, Channel Direct, Nick and his partner at that time were running, a session called called Channel Direct. But I mean, this is like early internet days. I had to look in the yellow pages for dance classes.
Like dial-up
Wow.
internet.
And I was calling up all these dance schools saying, oh, how do you learn to break? And they were like, oh, you don't, no one teaches that. Like you learn that on the street or something.
You don't learn that, you live that.
Yeah, literally I called and called and called around all these places and I couldn't find anywhere. And I found a flyer for Channel Direct on the ground of Skate Biz. Someone had dropped a flyer on the ground, like dropped it, and it flew into my life and I picked it up.
Oh, universe.
So wild, yeah.
fate.
I picked it up and I just had this B-boy on the front and I just went straight to that session.
Amazing.
And then met,
Was it an open session or was it like
it was
a
an
class?
open session.
Okay.
Yeah, it was just a training spot.
Yeah. So is that how you learn? Much?
Yeah. Gravity Warriors used to run that spot. And so, yeah, they all sort of mentored and helped. And then I met my first crew, free agents, which was Tom Thumb, Conan, who just took video.
Yeah. I was talking
okay.
to him
Yeah.
on the weekend actually.
So he's early B-boy, Brino, Steez. So I sort of met those guys and we formed our little crew there when we
How
were
long
really new.
was that a thing for?
I think I started in 2000 and we probably formed free agents in like 2004 and we were never like a competitive crew. We were just a group of friends.
Yeah.
And, but I entered my first battles with them. Yeah.
So then you had free agents, 2002, you said, around. How did that go in your progression, your journey, and then ended up in Team Cream?
I also, performed with Gravity Warriors and was mentored a lot by Nick Power, and still work with him this day. So I would acknowledge that they were very much a part of my development as a breaker. Gravity Warriors for sure. And I was a solo breaker. Like most of my career, I didn't have a crew.
Were there many other B-girls at the time when you were breaking? Like
No,
at that
there
time?
was Alana, Bgirl Lioness, was to my knowledge, the first Bgirl
Where
in
was she from?
Brisbane
Okay.
ever. To my knowledge, so she was the first Bgirl I ever met. There was Anna as well around 2000. I met Bgirl Anna in Brisbane. She was an amazing like style top rock dancer. And then there wasn't a lot of other girls. There was Melody, who later moved to Melbourne and formed Form 1 Lane with Stash. So Melody was around early 2000s as well.
Yep.
Jester, Sammy D, who was also at the camp this weekend. But that's about it. Yeah, competitive-wise, like sort of when I started battling properly, like when I understood breaking, there wasn't a lot of girls. There was a handful of girls that would come to training and float in and out. And then
You named quite a few, actually.
yeah.
So
And they were, there were sort of girls that would come to training and stuff. And then Tiny Locks came through. I'm not sure what year she started in, but we started battling together in sort of 2010-ish. We started, both her and I didn't have crews, so we formed our own little Queens of Queensland.
Queens of Queensland.
Yeah.
That's cute.
So we entered a lot of 2-on-2s together and travelled around and did Battle of the Year and did all those things.
How did you find, I guess, the resilience to be in a male-dominated dance form and stay within the scene for so long, especially like in those early years? Like, what pushed you to stay?
I didn't care that I was the only girl in the room. For a solid 10 years of training, I was often the only girl.
Have you always
in the
been like
room.
that, even outside of breaking?
Yeah. I've played in bands my whole life.
Okay.
I've always been attracted to things that weirdly, skateboarding, like all sorts of stuff that I don't know what it is. I just don't care.
Yeah.
And I like to give it a go. And I think for me, I didn't feel like I was the only girl in the room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't bother me. I didn't think, but later in life, like now there's more girls that come to training, and I find that when I am around B-girls, it is a really different feeling.
Really?
Yeah.
Like as in you feel insecure?
No, it's like a couple of years back I started like a B-girl training night.
Yep.
And like we just work on different things and we do weirdly feel more comfortable together.
Yep.
Yeah. What do you think that is, if you don't mind me? Like, if we could try and go in there, because it's important, right?
I don't think it's something that we consciously feel at training.
Yep.
Yeah.
That we're feeling restricted. But, I mean, obviously there's the thing, like in summertime we'll all just take our shirts off and have our daggy crop tops on. That I would never do in an open spot. But obviously in a B-girl session, you'd feel comfortable enough to, like, wear shorts and not feel strange about it. But I think it's just, I think we all understand that obviously our bodies are different, and I think also like just the encouragement of seeing other girls that are trying the same stuff as well. I remember the first time, when I went to Battle of the Year in France in 2012, we did it was like a B-girl camp. So it was run, Nika Kramer ran it, and it was for a week, the top 8 teams in the world. We all stayed in the same hotel. Awesome. We all got to do workshops with like the ultimate breakers throughout the whole week.
Yeah.
And Bgirl Rockefeller, one of the OG B-girls on the planet, took us for these power workshops.
Amazing.
And for me, like for Sammy and I, Tiny Locks and I, like coming from Australia where at the time there was maybe 20 B-girls competing in the whole of Australia. We'd never been in a room. I was like, I have never been in a room with like this many girls that can completely smoke me. Every one of them.
There?
Well, it was the top 8 cruise teams. So there were 16 girls there invited, and it was
everyone's hungry.
It was crazy. Yeah. But it was like everyone was so humble and stuff, but they were just the most it was such a wild experience for me to be super challenged by girls in the room as well.
Yeah.
It was really great. Yeah. But I've had a lot of discussions with other girls about what it's like to be a girl in the scene.
Yeah.
And I think because I am an earlier generation B-girl and there really wasn't a lot of girls around. I was a part of Australia's first B-girl crew. I've been a part of Australia's first B-girl battles. Like I've seen that happen. I've been in the competitions where there's never been a B-girl comp because there wasn't any B-girls to be in it, you know? So I grew up training and competing with the boys. And so for now to be at every comp and there's a B-girl element to it.
So now what would you...
It's strange. Yeah, it's nice and it's,
If you could round it up in like a little bit of a liner, or you can even dive into it, like if you're going to give advice to a girl that was jumping into breaking, what would you say? And the reason why I ask is because I think it's quite important also for the dudes out there to know this because we also have to accommodate. We can't keep going about it like ripping our shirts off and making everyone.
I don't think that's a problem. Yeah, it's not. I've never felt that kind of uncomfortability like at training, like you know. And I don't think it's a big thing that big girls feel that way. But I do. I have experienced like, I guess, competing and training with crews for a long time that I felt are my crew and not formally being invited into the cruise.
Okay.
I've traveled on my own for a lot and represented on a world stage.
Yeah.
But still, it took a long time for me to formally be invited into cruise.
Yeah.
You know, so
I understand. It's a lonely journey.
It's a lonely journey for me. It was. Yeah, and I think also, you know, I grew up in a time where it took me longer to get good.
Yes.
Yeah.
I didn't have access to
information for everyone.
Yeah,
right?
it's I feel like there's just the access to your training and mentoring and stuff now, like, you know, you can excel so much quicker. But
and we're so far removed from the rest of the world, you know, like even to travel to Europe or to America at that time would be so much more expensive and an effort.
Yeah.
And you don't have social media. We can hit up people just like, oh, do you know somebody that knows somebody that's here that could house me or that could take me around, or, you know, that kind of stuff?
You literally have to like stumble across it or find someone to show you.
Yeah. And I mean, I've been blessed, like, even, you know, I'm talking 10 years ago, to be able to have traveled around with my breaking and stuff. And I guess, like, just touching on that, like, the breaking is such an amazing community that when you do go overseas and you meet those people, you have a place to stay anywhere in the world, you know? Yeah.
So just to run it back then, bit of advice for a big girl coming in, just not feeling 100%, or even just wants to come in strong, what would you say?
I'd just say stick with it. Breaking's hard, you know? Like, I think that's why not many girls stick with it as long, or maybe it's trickier for girls to come into the scene because maybe they think they can't do it, or it's like when you try breaking, you suck at it.
Yeah.
For a long time,
This
you
is
suck
not just
at
girls.
breaking.
I still feel like
This is not just girls. This is everybody. Unless
like
you're
just
a
going
freak.
to a dance class, you can nail a routine, you feel satisfied about it. It takes a long time to get good. And I think that's why there's a gap there. But I don't know. My advice would be just stick with it. Find a good group of people to practice with. Find your peeps, and just stick with it.
Yeah.
So everyone out there,
Push through the bruises.
Push through the bruises.
my shoulders hurt so much. They're all red right now. Thanks to you.
I look like someone threw me everywhere. Yeah.
Can I add to that though before we move on? Like, I think supporting each other, especially as like B-girls, because as breakers, we're already a minority in the dance community. So then we've got another minority in another community. So I think support and like teaching each other is really important, and sharing. But I also think females and males think differently, they learn differently, and not only their biology is different, so of course you would feel more comfortable and easier to share and collaborate when you're with someone that thinks the same as you. And it's just,
but I just think it's like a species thing, right? Even when we went to Portugal together, we go into, you know, the competitive room, and there's 2 warm-up lino spots that is open for anyone to warm up and practice on the floor.
all the girls go on one side,
and
all the boys go on the other.
organically, all the girls went to one side. And I was like, isn't this weird that, like, on an international level as well,
Still that same kind of
naturally all the girls drifted to one side of the room. I thought that was really interesting.
It is something to think about, right?
Yeah.
But
Anyway.
Thanks for that. I think we can kind of move through that. There is one more question before we jump into the new topic. Is
going through travel
Yep.
and leading into like your breaking career, and you know, you mentioned to us just before, like you stopped and then you got invited into the Aus Breaking Crew, which meant that you had to start again. Tell us about that process. And
I think I've never, like, I've been breaking for a long time, and I guess being in my 40s and running 2 businesses, like, it's really challenging to keep training. Also, you know, trying to start a family and things like that. I guess my focus has drifted a bit, and I've had a really successful dance career, not only just in competing, but in, you know, traveling with dance companies and stuff like that. So I've been really blessed in the sense that I've had a great experience and a great career in dance. And so, you know, there's always those phases, me getting older, going, oh, when is it time to hang that battle hat up? And, you know, going through COVID lockdown, I really, like, I you know, lost everything in COVID, and I was like, I'm not training at all. And then coming out of COVID, I got a PT, and for some reason, like, my fire got lit again.
awesome.
And yeah, so I think I've had phases going in and out, like everyone kind of does. And I never knew when would be right for me to step away. And
Do
then
you have to?
I don't think I do.
Yeah.
I thought maybe after all of the Oceania and stuff like that, I thought that would be the last hurrah for me, like that my last big comp that I would put a whole bunch of effort into. And I thought, oh yeah, that might be a nice little way to step away from battling and like maybe just sort of focus a bit more on like mentoring and judging and stuff like that.
So when you mean step away, you're not saying stepping away from the culture. It's more
calm down from training so hard, because especially like last year,
the pressure of it all.
Yeah, I was training like every day, and
It's time
at
consuming.
work. Yeah, when you run 2 businesses, like it was so exhausting on me.
Yeah.
But you know, even some people were like, oh, would you go for Red Bull again this year? And I'm like, if they asked me, I think I would. I'm still not ready to stop. Yeah,
funny,
I
right?
think when my body breaks down, I might stop. Yeah.
It's one of those things, right? Like, as humans, you kind of enjoy the pain.
Oh, yeah.
So you enjoy it in hindsight.
Well, I love training. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
It's interesting.
I guess it's like, if I can, I will.
yeah, exactly. That's exactly where I'm at right now. If my body is still capable of competing and I'm enjoying it, then I'm going to still do it.
So then what happened for you, like, in terms of getting the call from Aus Breaking? It's like, okay, you're on the team now. Your expectations are you've got to travel, you've got to battle, you've got to do all these things, and then also prepare for Oceania. Like, how did you sort of react to that, and what was your process going into that new sort of stage?
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, it was. We're going to get personal on this podcast. No, I'd actually seen a fertility specialist with my partner, and I were trying to have a baby. Wow. And so we'd gone to a specialist on the Monday and went, okay, we're going to try and have a baby this year.
Yeah.
And on the Wednesday, I got the call saying that I'd made the Australian team and that we had all these commitments.
Yeah.
And I was really conflicted. I didn't know what to do.
Of course.
And luckily my husband was way more stoked for me on that level. And he's like, what's another year? Like, and imagine, if I'd said no to both kind of thing, So I personally took a sacrifice on that level, which is pretty...
That's massive.
It's a massive thing.
It's a big sacrifice.
I sacrificed sort of that focus for that year. And also like I felt so blessed at my age to still be even considered for that position.
I mean, skills is skills, right? So
yeah, well, like I just thought I just never thought that I would be considered to be in that group. Yeah. So on that reason, I wanted to make sure that I was ready for it and I was worthy to be on that team. Yeah. So I went 100% with my training. Yeah.
And you've done heaps, like now that you're back in the scene, like Aus Breaking and training hard. I don't know if you have, but it sounds like you found a better balance with the scene and then your life as well.
Yeah.
But now you're giving back a lot too. Not now, but like you also give back a lot to the scene as well, especially with IBB.
And Elements Collective.
And Elements Collective. So we've just come out of a really heavy weekend, really good weekend. Can you tell us about that, about Elements Collective, how it started, its vision, and your own kind of like push with that?
Yeah. Well, I started Elements Collective after coming back from touring Europe with Nick Power, and Nick was directing some shows that we toured around for across 2 years across Europe. And I was ready to come back to Brisbane, and I just didn't want to go back to just teach. I was teaching prior to that, just at every different little dance school, and I just did not want to do it. I wanted to make my own dance theatre. I wanted a creative space. I wanted to work as a dancer, but just not be teaching all the time. So hired a space in 2010 and started upstairs at EC and opened it up with the hopes of it being a total creative space. So Tom Thumb had his Born Fresh Records. He had a recording studio there, so he was starting to record and do his music stuff. And then I ran the dance space, and really quickly I realized, okay, like making dance works. It doesn't pay the bills, so had to start running classes. Organically, a dance company formed, like a studio. And I just ran with it. I never wanted to run like a dance school at all, but it happened. I happened to open it at the right time, and I just kind of went with it for 4 years, and we ran this really successful school, and it was amazing, and I made lifelong friends doing it, and we developed some crazy choreographers who are now in the scene now, who grew up as babies at EC.
That's awesome.
Even Oshan was a baby at EC. Now he like works for us. So many people came through that space. And then in about 2014, I went, I don't want to run a dance school anymore. I'm done being the admin girl. So I passed the dance studio side of things over to another dance company, and now they hire the space from me, V-Hub Dance. So, and then I remodeled the business model. So I made it a creative space, EC venue, and that is venue hire. People hire my space and they run their own stuff. We also do events and performances and all that kind of stuff. We have a bar and it's a social space. And then Elements Collective is my dance company. So the two separate things. And the dance company produces events. We do school programs. We do touring. We make theatre shows.
Damn.
Yeah.
A lot.
Leading the scene and living the dream. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Big, that was a real good one. Clip that. That's a big testament to your hard work and your passion for the scene. Like, I just want to let you know that it's definitely not underappreciated.
Thank you.
We see it.
It's really, and it's really important for us to hear your story also because it inspires a lot of us that are now at our generation where we can start going through that process as well and start creating opportunities and other things for the next generation. And it's really important for us to have role models and to be able to have these conversations so that we can learn from your lessons.
It's good, right? Like that's hip hop as well. Each one teach one. And we've seen you do that time and time again, achieve something, and you're not the type of person to hold on to it and keep it for yourself and share. So for me, and finding my own journey in breaking, like that's huge for me. So thank you.
So coming from EC, then how do we get to IBB?
Oh, yeah.
International Breaking Bootcamp.
Well, I have to shout out to B-Boy Rush because he ran the first boot camps in Australia. And I attended one of his...
Rush the man.
Oh, I can't even remember what year.
God.
I'm going to guess and say it was 2008, maybe. Correct me. Put it up on the screen or whatever you do.
We'll ask him. We'll ask him.
Yeah, I think it was around that time. And it was Kid David, Po One, and So.
Damn, I wish I was there.
And we went way out in the sticks of Sydney. And that weekend changed my life. Kid David's workshops opened my eyes to movement, the different movement, and helped me with just, how certain people unlock things for you. So that whole weekend was just so fun. It was, such a great way to connect. I made lifelong friends through the breaking community. So sometimes you go to jams and you see them for like a few hours, but when you're stuck in a camp, especially where our rushes were, you were literally stuck there. I made lifelong breaking friends out of it.
I feel that even with this one as well. Over the weekend, you're put through so much with everyone that's in the scene and you build that camaraderie.
Yeah.
You go through pain together.
And then so much knowledge as well, so you get to digest together. Also, I remember hearing so many stories of all the boot camps because I was young when I first started to see them. Yeah. And they just sounded crazy.
Yeah, I think Rush ran 2 or 3. And then we ran one, and then it was a long time before there was another one. And
when was your first one?
I rang Rush and I said, "Are you cool if I run one of these?" He's like, "Go for it." And so 2017 we ran the first one.
And who were the guests that you brought over?
We brought Menno, Thesis, Nagin, and Moy.
Wow.
And it was wild. So
was it a 3-day or 4-day?
It was a 3-day event. Yeah. And we just jam-packed it in. It was full on. I did learn from that one. Maybe 4 guests is a little overkill. So scaled it back a bit this year to 3 guests. But, that first one for me as an event producer was a big eye-opener. I was working full-time on the Commonwealth Games at the time. I was the cast coordinator for the opening and closing ceremony.
Helped big time.
So I was... running one of the biggest events in the world. And during my Commonwealth Games contract, I got my grant awarded. So I'd applied for some funding to help bring the artists over, and I just didn't think I would get that money. And so I think I received the acknowledgement that I got it in October, in mid or late October. And you're with some grants, you're not allowed to announce that you have it until a few weeks later. And so I don't think I could actually announce that I was running this event. No one even knew anything about it. But I think I had like 8 weeks to promote the event.
Wow.
It's not a lot of time.
It wasn't a lot of time, but luckily back then it was visas and stuff, the processing was a lot easier. So I could lock in my artists really quickly. So that first announcement, I was like, boom, surprise, we're running this epic thing with these 4 crazy artists. And it pretty much sold out straight away. But yeah, I was just, I always am an overcommitter, and I thought I took 5 days off my employment contract with the Com Games and it was early December to run this event. And I just I'm so used to running things on my own that I just didn't hire the help that I needed to run such a massive thing. So, I hired, I hired Team Cream to come and help run my dance program, and Sammy, my old crewmate, came along and helped me kind of artist liaison. She's like, you need help driving people around and hosting people. I was like, yep. And then quickly on arrival, when all these 100 people started coming through, I was like, okay, I need someone to look after the kids. I need someone to do this.
This is real now.
Yeah, and I just rang all my friends. And I remember on the last day that we had the battle event on the Sunday, and I'd made it through, and I think just like the duck on the water situation, everyone thinks it's it ran really smooth, but under the water I was just like, oh my God, that I remember me going, oh yeah, I can host the battle, I can MC, I can host this battle as well as doing everything that whole weekend. That Fonko walked in the door and just gave me a hug, and it was like, how are you going? And on the hug, I just started crying with this total exhaustion. I was like, bro, I need help. I need you to host the last 2 hours of this event. I'd got through the whole weekend, and I just, in that moment, I was like, my body's done. I just need help. So 2017 was super successful, but a really, really good eye-opener to me in the sense of sometimes you can ask for help.
Yeah, big time.
So this year,
I asked for help. You had a full team.
Yeah.
It was good. Everything ran really
I had my
smoothly.
core team, and for me it was chalk and cheese in my experience as an event organizer running the event. I think it still was delivered the same way. I think the energy and the experience for everyone attending was the same. But it was so much easier. I got to actually do the workshops. I got to have lunch. I got to sit and watch and actually be a part of it. And that was really cool. Yeah,
what are the big takeaways going from the last ones that you've thrown and then now? Because obviously every time you throw a new event, you learn new things. Any new
and I do see this a lot with some emerging event organizers is make sure that you budget properly and realistically, and also educate yourself on budgets and what is an expected price for things. Don't try to run an event on a tight budget.
It always kind of goes over a bit.
When you don't have a lot of money to do something, maybe sometimes it's best to not do it at a lower quality. So, I think it's really important to have a good team behind you. So, we're all bold and we all just want to do it, and we all go, we're all multi-talent. People who are running those kind of events can do most of the jobs in that. But sometimes it's nicer just to have that extra bit of support around. It makes the experience for attendees a little bit better as well. If I was to give advice, I'd just be get your budgets realistic.
It's the backbone of setting up anything, really. Yeah. So makes sense.
Yeah.
And I guess we're still kind of fresh off this camp, but I guess is there how are you feeling about it now that it's not quite done because you still got to drop some guests off and that
drop
kind of
some
stuff.
finals off at the airport. Honestly, I had the most amazing weekend. I'm so thankful. I'm so grateful. It went without a hitch. The feedback that I've had already and the messages that I've had already have been so humbling. It feels like everyone's had such a great time. There was no major incidences. No one broke a bone. No dramas. Lots of bruising, but there was no dramas. There was smooth sailing. The artists had an amazing time. I also had 3 really humble, beautiful artists working with me this year.
Absolutely. They were awesome.
They were just so great, and that is tricky as well when you're booking artists. It's you can ask around and say how are they to work with, but you never know how how people are going to be in real life. And I was just really lucky that all three of them were total gems.
And
And
they
then
were
on top
really
of pairing them together as well.
Yeah, also,
you know?
how do they work with each other as well? Yeah, are they comfortable? I mean, I was messaging them and saying, are you guys happy to stay, you know, because I wasn't sure if I could book an apartment for them or, you know, 3-bedroom thing, or if they were camping at that time. So I was like, are you guys cool, or kind of staying in the same place?
Was there much curating in terms of like stylistically? You've got obviously Rocks, right? I mean, 3 very different people, very different styles. So when it comes to like organizing, what's that curation process kind of look like?
In terms of like how I selected them and stuff?
Yeah, or was it just kind of like, let's see who we can get and then...
Yeah, no, I definitely, I personally select them because I guess like as an artistic director of a festival, like you want what you think is going to be best. And I know that Australia has a large demographic of ages and there's still, and generations, that's what I was trying to say. So obviously having someone like Rox, who's like from an older generation, and Castet, much newer generation, I wanted to make sure that I covered a variety of different
And I think you did really well with
and
that.
stuff. Yeah.
Not only their ages and their time within dance, but also their styles and their perspectives and their upbringings were so different.
Yeah.
And like we got to host that Q&A and we got really good. Yeah, thank you so much. We got good feedback from that. But like one of the takeaways is that because they're so different and they can all answer the same question, they provide different answers. And so everyone can relate in some sort of way.
Yeah.
And each person can find the person that they relate to the most. Yeah, I think that was really cool.
Yeah. How did you find it all, having that chat? Because that chat was nice. We all sat down. Just
Yeah,
like
it was great.
how we're sitting
I
now.
really do wish we had more time for it. I think if we do it again next time, we'll do it earlier, we'll do it on an afternoon or something like that. Because I think, you know, people were engaged. Sometimes I was aware that this was day 2 and it was the end of the night and people were tired, but people were totally interested, was totally vibing the whole time.
I was talking to a few people and they were like, I reckon I could have sat for like another half hour.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's smaller sessions, but there's multiple of them.
Yeah.
That could be something.
Yeah, the first camp we did do that. We did lots of breakout spots. We did a Bgirl forum as well, which was sort of the first ever time that there'd been a Bgirl forum, us talking about what it's like to be a girl in the scene and stuff.
Yeah, nice.
There was actually enough girls to attend an event to host a Bgirl forum. But yeah, I think what I've taken away from this one is the value on I guess the social aspect of the camp. Obviously, like workshops are accessible, and we are lucky enough to have a lot of workshops that go around. And obviously, the part of the boot camp is about learning and upskilling, but also I think just the community side of breaking and the discussions that are really important to have in breaking as well. So if I get to do it again, I'm definitely going to modify that timetable so that we can have more of those little breakout sessions as well.
Because as breakers, like those are key moments where you find value and it can change something in your perspective or make you want to train a certain way or travel or inspire you in such a way. I think it's more important than the movement is these conversations.
And sometimes it's also not even chatting about breaking, right?
No.
Like, so you're just trying to find out, like, what do you do
What makes you
outside of
tick?
it all?
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think...
Or what's your mentality going into this, you know? Because, I mean, that's the thing. Physically, you can learn so much, but little things like when Roxwhite was saying, when I prepare for a comp, you know, I want to make sure I'm not totally wrecked and exhausted before I compete.
Yeah.
And he does 5 days, 4 days, 2 days, and then competes. And I was like, that seems so simple. Like, how did we not even think of that? But it makes total sense. But, you know, little discussions like that where it's like, what's that thing that sparks your idea on this? Or what happens when you lose your spark? You know, I think that conversation came up as well.
Which is a big one.
Yeah, because everyone goes through that stuff.
And I think a testament to your curation and the luck of having the type of artist that you grabbed was they were so present and so available to everybody and anybody.
Yeah.
And that Q&A went really well, but also everyone got to go have a drink afterwards.
Yeah.
And they stayed, you know, and not everybody has the time or the patience to be able to do that. So I think it's a really big thank you to them. For really sharing.
Very humble artists. Yeah, we were so lucky to have them all. Yeah.
After such an amazing weekend, I know there's a lot of digesting that you would do on your part, like admin stuff, but what does the future look like? Feeling so inspired. There were so many people there. So like if I was to put myself in your shoes, I'd be like, damn, I get to see all of these people enjoying themselves. For Bgirl Flix, what's the future looking like now? Next steps?
Grants, writing, that's all I do. No. I mean, obviously it is having a successful weekend like that. It was, we had pretty much the same numbers that we had in 2017. And I was a little nervous because it is a new generation of breakers that are in now. And prior to Christmas, we didn't have those numbers and I was really concerned. I was actually concerned, like, do we need a camp like this? And then it happened and everyone came through on the day and it was just, a reminder that these things are really important. The sad realization is that an event of that scale doesn't happen without sponsorship. And for us, our major sponsor, Arts Queensland, had we not had that, there's no way we could have ran that event. It's a hugely, hugely expensive project. And the risk involved if you don't get the numbers is huge. I found it really hard to get sponsors outside of arts funding. I approached a lot of companies to try and come in, and I was actually really surprised, especially having the Olympics coming on this year and it being a skills development tick all the box event with 2 Olympians attending. I just thought that somehow someone would give us. Red Bull came to the camp and gave us some support as well. They always support our events to some capacity, to whatever they can in their budget. But in terms of like major sponsors, it was really tricky. So it would be really great. That is one of my goals this year, is like we're looking for corporate sponsorship for not only our schools program to get that going, because we want to keep developing that new generation of breakers.
It's also like culturally, right? I was talking to Katsu after the Olympic qualifiers. It's not a sponsorship, it's a partnership.
It's a partnership.
We need to
You're
find
in it
people
with
that
us,
love it the way that we do and want to help us go, which is,
Australian businesses do better. Support the culture.
You know what I think
this
it
is the
is?
future.
I think it's ignorance.
Yeah.
I think that they
totally.
don't see the value in
Not at
what these events do to the community and like how important they are.
we're still street kids, apparently. But we're in the Olympics, but we're still street kids. It's like, what?
Yeah. I mean, even just trying to get into schools. Like we already, Elements Collective teach hip hop dance in, like we do choreographic work for school assessments. And literally we're just reformulating it and running a breaking schools program. We're going to do a schools breaking battle where schools form school crews and they battle each other to try and introduce battling to school kids. But it's funny, like we're already in schools, they already trust us. They already know that like street dance is like works for their curriculum, but for some reason like breaking is this thing that they just think twice about. So,
and I think that's why it's important to have this platform. So that we can tell the truth and share the values behind the dance itself and how for a lot of people it actually saves people's lives and it inspires them. It gives them confidence. It gives them discipline and so many other things for them to live in the world and become professionals.
I had a chat with a really great guy, Gordon, talking about dance sport in Australia. And he was saying that it's hard with breaking. You might already know this, but it's hard with breaking when parents come in and see it, because they see us spinning on our heads. They see us jumping, flipping, hitting the ground. It does look dangerous. But I think, like you said, with platforms like this and camps like what you throw, they'll begin to realize that is at the higher tier, the higher level of what we do. But there is so much more to it where kids actually really have so much of a better time there.
I actually had a moment yesterday because we had the mixed crew battles and we had 2 kids. One, his name was Frank, and the other name Jack. They were so fresh. And we embraced them straight away. We created a routine with them and like both of their parents came up to me before we were battling and they were a little bit concerned, but then they watched us create something with them and they're like, okay, sweet, they'll be fine.
How old were they actually?
I don't know. Maybe one was like around 5, 6, 7 and the other one maybe like 9 or 10. And one of the mums, Frank's mum, came up to me just before the battle, and she goes, Frank's probably going to do a really short set. So if one of you want to come in and like back him up and like take the round so that, you know, like it might not be that good. And I was like, no, it's going to be fine. Like, don't worry. Like he'll have a good time. And like, I remember like just before the battle, we had a little huddle and I was like, we just enjoy ourselves. We have fun, blah, blah, blah. And we had our routine. Jack went out first, killed it. And then one of us went, then Frank went out and he did even better.
Yeah.
And he kept going. And straight after the battle, like, she said, man, you guys were amazing. And she didn't think that we would get through to the top 8. And unfortunately we did. But I realized at that moment that these are core memories for them.
Those kids are going to remember that moment forever.
Exactly.
That's their first battle, and they got through, and they, you know, they got to dance with such amazing dancers.
And it's going to inspire them to keep going.
Totally.
You know what I mean? So I think it's important for us to have more of those opportunities.
Yeah. And to be like, to just speak on that, that's the reason we did that in 2017 as well. We brought it back this year, the randomized crew battles.
I love that, actually.
And when I first have spoken to some people about it, like when we were developing the event, and I was explaining the random thing, and some people were like, oh man, what if people are traveling up for the battle? And I'm like, no, it's not about winning.
Yeah.
It's about the fact that you've got inexperienced dancers or intermediate dancers that have never experienced what it's like to firstly dance alongside someone that's like a pro level breaker or a really advanced breaker. And or maybe just those people that have been battling for a long time, but still to be able to get through and to for any of those crews to be able to win it, like it's super valuable. And having the young kids in there.
I actually had that moment for myself last year.
Yep.
When I went to Europe, I got put in a mixed crew battle, and it was with Willis Strait, Jung, and a couple of other European guys that were incredibly high level.
Yeah.
And one Bgirl, Campanita.
Yeah.
And I was standing there, and I was like, damn, like, what am I doing next to these guys? Like, these are pros to me.
Yeah.
You know?
Imposter syndrome.
Yeah,
stuff,
mad imposter syndrome. But to have that experience with them, and we won.
Yeah.
I won my first European Jam last year. You know what I mean? Like, so to be able to do that with these kids too, it happens at each stage of our career in breaking.
Yeah. I remember that time for me, I was still very new to breaking. I think I'd been entering battles for like 4 years or something, but I didn't quite understand breaking. And Yogi from Skill at Will and Sunny, early Skill at Will, we entered as the punk princess crew. Rowan used to run these themed battle events, and it was a 3-on-3, and the boys asked me to jump in. It's like Yogi, and Sunny, who were just incredible. And they asked me to be in their crew, and we won it. And for me, like, I was totally new and totally sucked, but
you'll
the fact
carry
that they
for the
asked me to dance with them, and then we won it, like the trust that they had in me, like it's I'll never forget that as well, you know. And it's like, it's not that I danced well, it's that like I had that experience and the confidence that it gives you, and the I guess the feeling of what it's like to win a battle, you know.
Yeah,
it's like then you can get that fire back. Yeah,
Ty was saying, core memories. We just got to keep creating core memories as a community.
Yeah.
And regardless, like, pull your egos down sometimes. It's not always about winning. It's about making those core memories for people who don't get to experience those on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Because it creates more joy for them and want to stay within the scene.
Yeah.
And
that's
so
how we
it creates,
grow, right?
it creates a healthier
go into
environment.
the future. And that's how we build. That's how we build and keep going. I'd love to keep going,
but I think it's
We're out of
time
time.
to...
it's one of those. So thank you so much for giving us your time and coming and having a chat. It was nice. It was very wholesome.
Big shout out to International Breaking Bootcamp. Thank you so much, Leah. Shout out to Elements Collective. Do you have any last words?
Follow Elements Collective on Instagram. Oh yeah, there you go. Follow Elements Collective on Instagram. Follow International Breaking Bootcamp on Instagram, because we have more awesome stuff in the ropes. See you on the other side.
All right, that's
Us.
Decypher out.
Peace.
Catch you guys.